Hello and welcome to another video from me, Rough Swordsman, Wargamer. It's an open the box and it's an unboxing of another game in a series of which I'm very fond, and it is of course Norman Conquests, conflicts of the Normans and their successors 1053 to 1265, and it is of course part of the Men of Iron series. This is volume 5. The series designer is, of course, Richard Berg, and this game is designed by Ralph Shelton and published by GMT Games. So, what's all this about? So, if you don't know anything about the Men of Iron series, this gives a quick overview. The Men of Iron series is designed for quick learning and easy play. Game rules are short and there are no turns. Play is continual, with opportunities to steal play from your opponents, and combat resolution is a single die roll. Playing time is about 1 to 3 hours per battle. The series is also for the gamer who enjoys playing solitaire. The system is designed for both individual and face-to-face play without any loss in insight or fun. It allows a player or players to see what happened in these famous battles and why. There are no purpose-built solitaire rules, but many players play that way. In other words, double-handed. So this entry features units such as crossbows, men-at-arms, mounted, dismounted and unhorsed, axe-armed infantry, Saxon and Viking housecarls, pike or other polearm armed, infantry, archers and a few Welsh longbows. Commanders featured are such luminaries as Robert Guiscard, the Norwegian King Harold III, Saxon King Harold II, William II, also known as the Conqueror, Duke of Normandy, Robert II, Duke of Normandy, English King Henry I, English King Henry III, Edward, Lord of Chester, later King Edward I, and Simon de Montfort, Earl of Leicester. Here are the battles. We've got Civitate, not sure if I pronounced that right, but Fulford, Stamford Bridge, Hastings, Tanchebray, Lewis, and Evesham. Here are some examples of the counters. And in the box, we've got 3 22 by 34 inch game maps, 2 of which are back printed, 2 1/4 sheets of 9/16 counters, 3 player aid cards, 1 rules manual, 1 battle book, and 2 10-sided dice. And the game credits, as I've mentioned, the series originally designed by Richard Berg, this game designed by Ralph Shelton, game developer Jason Lindsay, art director Justin Martinez, production coordinator Kai Jensen, counter art Mike Lemick and Charlie Kibler, map art also by Charlie Kibler, and the package art, once again, Charlie Kibler and Justin Martinez, and the cover illustration by Kurt Miller. And over here we've got ages 14 plus, 2 players, although it plays solitaire very well. Unit scale, approximately 250 men per unit, roughly. Map scale, 100 yards per hex. Time scale, well, there are no set game turns, so there isn't. And on the game meters here, we've got complexity, only 4 out of 9, and the solitaire suitability high at 7 out of 9. Right, let's get the shrink wrap off. The shrink wrap is off. It's a 2-inch hardy box, and I must say the box cover art is fantastic. So let's open the box. And the first thing we see is the rulebook. So let's have a look at that. Here are the rules, full colour, 28 pages and matte paper. And it says on here, Norman Conquests and the Men of Iron tri-pack. So I assume this one rule set or rules manual can be used for any tweaks made in the Men of Iron tri-pack, as well as the new game Norman Conquests. So this will be familiar to those that have the tri-pack. We've got an introduction, and here we've got these little coloured boxes. And this one is for Menavine and Norman Conquests. We've got one for Infidel and one for Blood and Roses. The components and how they're marked and what they mean, markers. And here's an example of one of those boxes that's specific to the Menavine tri-pack and the Norman Conquests. Don't worry, if you haven't got this, still use the Menavine tri-pack rules. It's sort of amalgamating the two games together. It looks like victory, sequence of play, leaders and command. And I've played this a couple of times live. I've got Agincourt, which is like the bonus game included in the tri-pack, on my channel as well. So I do like this system. It's a nice, easy to grab hold of system. And some say a nice entry into Great Battles of History, which is a more sort of crunchy game. So activation and continuity, where you can carry on activating if you're successful. You can seize somebody trying to do that though and stop them. Movement, facing is important in this game. Zones of control. There are no zones of control. Stacking, normally just one unit with a leader. Missile fire, how that all works. Shock. So you can see some of the terminology is very similar to Great Battles of History, but take it from me, this is very much a pared down version. Doesn't make it any the less enjoyable though. I do like this series. So how to do shock resolution, charging and counter-charging. Combat results. Retreat, retire, eliminated, continued attack. That's when you charge, I think, if I remember rightly. Here are some optional rules for Blood and Roses. Rallying the units and some special rules. Shield wall is available in Norman Conquests as well as the Men of Iron, and some more sort of specific rules for those games. The engage rule is optional, and there we are. Index at the back changes from the original editions of the games, which only applies if you had the first editions from way back. Doesn't apply to the Men of Iron tri-pack, I don't think, he says. Yeah, because they added the Agincourt one in the tri-pack. So probably just to do with the original printings, and an extended sequence of play on the back, which applies to all the games. There we are. Them's the rules. Next up, we've got the Norman Conquests Battlebook with those battles I mentioned that are on the back of the box. So we've got a preface, notes on setup and selecting units, and then we're into the battles. A little bit of historical background, how to deploy your units, which is pretty straightforward. There's the map that shows you actually where they all go. They're color coded, as you can see, and labeled as well, so fear not. And any sort of special rules, and that's how it works throughout the whole of the battle book. There's the one everybody will be playing, I suppose. It's in Normandy. The two brothers didn't get on. Lewis. Here we are, Evesham. And a little example of play on the back to show you how it all works. And a specific extended sequence of play for Norman Conquests. What I tend to do is photocopy that, laminate it, so I don't have to keep on messing up the Battlebook. Them's the battles. 2 copies of a bifold player aid. Let's have a look at one of those. So on the front we've got the weapon systems matrix for shock and charge. Pretty easy to use. The type of attacker against the defender. That tells you your modifier. And it's got Men of Iron here, don't get confused, because it's part of the Men of Iron series. You don't use this for the Men of Iron tri-pack. It's got its own. In the middle we've got the train chart for each of the battles and the seizure counter explanation. And on the back, some tables: fire results, fire range DRM chart, counter charge versus charge, charge reluctance because they might not want to charge your horses, shock combat result, and charge combat results, which are 2 separate things you do, and they're DRMs. Right at the bottom, counter charge versus shock fire. Here's a single-sided player aid, not a turn track chart because there are no turns really. We've got this flight point track, which as you lose your units, it will move along here. And you can see there are certain points where things happen. Here we get some Norwegian reinforcements, but the rest of them, I believe, if I remember rightly, when you reach that, your side has fled the field. And here's a general track to keep note of things like continuation attempts and the like. Some plastic bags and 2d10s. Next up are the counters. It's actually quite counter light. There's only 2 1/4 counter sheets. Here's the first one, and this is showing the Saxons and their leaders, the Norwegians, Normans, and papal units here with some admin counters. And on the other side, the units are showing their disordered side with that D in the diamond there. Here's the second sheet. Who we got on here? We've got the Royalists, Baronial, and some more admin counters down here. And quickly on the other side, shows you their disordered state. And then lastly, a dinky little quarter-size counter sheet showing the Royalists and shield wall counters, and the other side. And lastly, we have 3 game maps. So let's have a look at those. So the first map is the Battle of Hastings. Here we can see Caldbeck Hill, Battle Hill, and down the bottom, Telham Hill. We've got some roads leading to London, onto Ashford in Kent, and Hastings, and right up there, Eastbourne. Nice looking map. We've got the map key here, and there are 3 levels, and they're pretty easy to distinguish. Level 1, level 2, level 3. We've got some stream hexsides which may impede movement for certain units. Woods up the top there, and then some marshes dotted about. The Battle of Hastings was a single-sided map. These last 2 are double-sided. And on this side we've got the Battle of Lewes. It's in Sussex, 14th of May 1264. Dominated by this large hill. And the map is 3 levels again. And that's about it. On the other side, we have the Battle of Evesham. Again, pretty sort of sparse, apart from Green Hill, with the 3 levels again. The River Avon showing its presence. Here's Evesham itself. These roads are going off to the Abbey. Down here we've got the road to Worcester. Up the top we've got Offingham. And over here we've got the map key. This is the baronial exit, it says on there. Pretty self-explanatory, and they've repeated the terrain chart that's on that player aid. And on the last map sheet, we've got something I'm always pleased to see. It's when they give you some smaller battles. Over on the left, we've got the Battle of, and I believe it's pronounced Civitate in Italy, and the Battle of Fulford. Got the River Ouse here. Apart from that, a little bit of marsh you're going to keep out of for that battle. Over here, we've got, looks like a steep hill with a river over on the left. And on the other side, two more half-sized maps. The Battle of Tanchebray there, and the Stamford Bridge battle over here. Completely clear on this map, and the same with this, apart from a few roads and the River Derwent in the corner. Well, that's everything in the box. So this has been Open the Box, an unboxing of GMT's brand new entry into the Men of Iron series, Norman Conquests, and this game designed by Ralph Shelton. Well, I hope you enjoyed that and you found it interesting. I'm certainly looking forward to giving this new game in the series a bit of a playthrough in the near future. If you did enjoy the video, and you haven't done so already, it would be of great help if you would consider subscribing to the channel. Another thing that helps greatly and tickles the old algorithm is if you push the like button, the thumbs up underneath the video. And if you want to be informed of other content the channel uploads, then push the bell. Just make sure you push all notifications. Leave a comment. I know this is a popular series because it's accessible and fun to play. But what do you think? Let me know, because I love to read them. Thanks as always to my subscribers. Thank you so much. And quickly, as always, just before I go, little plug. If you wish to support the channel a little bit further, you can. You can buy the channel a coffee, and there's a link for that in the description. Or if you prefer, you can push the super thanks button. Either of which, if you decide to do that, we thank you, and it just helps to keep the channel ticking along with bits and pieces. Right then, that's Norman Conquests done and dusted. I've got to clip those counters, which are 9/16 as opposed to the half-inch ones in the tri-pack, so that shouldn't take me too long. And I hope you can join me for the next video. But until then, as always, you take care and goodbye.